Okay, we're in the index, and I'm going to warn you that this is going to be confusing, so stick with it. And even when you get discouraged, understand that if you are focused in your practice, if you care about this, you will do well on it, even though it is confusing. Okay, so this is a teacher model, because this is something that almost no students have done. So length is the measured dimension of an object. Distance is the numerical description of how far apart objects are. Length is the measured dimension of an object, like how long is something. Distance is the numerical description of how far apart objects are. And if you had never thought of it that way, neither had I. I just got that answer from my boss in geometry. So in any case, that's what we're talking about. Now we have one more thing. I'm going to put something that looks confusing here, but it's something that we need. So the equation for distance, and you're not going to like this thing, but I will show you another way to do it that I think you will like more. But we need to know that distance equals the square root of, this is some x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So I need to put some more information in here. You could write this in the margin. You could make an index card and staple it to these notes. So let's show how this works. There's going to be another example problem coming in just a minute. So what you need to know is that when we have a right triangle, and my triangle is not perfect, and let's suppose that this distance is 4 units, and that this distance is 5 units. Now the numbers are not going to come out very nicely here. Just stick with it. So this distance, this diagonal distance, which we will call C, the hypotenuse of the triangle, we'll call this 4A, we'll call this 5B. So the Pythagorean theorem says that this distance squared, not C, but C squared equals A squared, this distance, this leg distance, plus B squared, this distance. And this is really the thing that you need to memorize, and then how you can work with it. So in this example, we're trying to find how far it is from here to here. So to find how far this is, we need to take the square root of both sides. So this is like take the square root, take the square root. So we're taking the square root of 4 squared is 16 plus 5 squared, which is 25. C is the square root of 41. And about how far is that? Well, we know the square root of 36 would be 6. The square root of 49 would be 7. So we'll call this about 6.5 units. 6.5 units is not our answer. The square root of 41 is our answer, and we can't break that down. So this looked confusing this time around. It will continue to look confusing, but as we practice, you are going to get better at it. You need to remember that c squared equals a squared plus b squared, and to figure out what just c would be, you need to take the square root of both sides. So that's the square root of whatever is under here. So in this case, we had 4 squared is 16, and then 5 squared is 25. We add them together, that's 41. And then to figure out what just c would be, we take the square root of 41, which is a weird number, but it's about 6.5. Okay? All right, let's see what this problem has for us. Okay, the school is located at 10, 10, and that's called S. Terrence lives at the origin. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see that. School is located at 10, 10. Terrence lives at 0, 0. And Bernadette lives at B, -2, -2. Okay, now the question, why does Terrence live closer to the school than Bernadette? Okay, so we're going to try to find the distance TS. Sorry, we'll call it ST, school to Terrence. And we're going to call that ST, well, you'll see it in a minute. So ST squared, this distance squared, equals, so you can see this is a move right 10, and then also a move up 10. So you can imagine we have something that looks like this. So this distance is 10, this distance is 10, and then this is our ST. So we know that ST squared, we call this C squared, ST squared equals 10 squared plus 10 squared. That doesn't tell us how far ST is, that tells us how far ST squared is. So ST squared equals 100 plus 100. ST squared equals 200. Now remember, how do we find what ST is? Now we need to take the square root of both sides. So ST equals, so we're doing square root of 200. So under the radical here we have 100 times 2. We have 10 times 10 times 2. Duplicates with 10, so 10 comes out. This is 10 times the square root of 2 units. Now we look at Bernadette. So Bernadette lives at -2, -2. She lives here. And now we have to figure out how far she is from the school. So I'm going to draw her line in blue. Hope this looks good. It's okay. So I'm going to do this on a separate sheet of paper real quick. So we'll say that SB squared equals, and again with SB what we have going on is 12 to the right and 12 up, and then we're trying to find out how far SB is. So we said C squared, the hypotenuse squared equals 12 squared plus 12 squared equals 144 plus 144. Sorry you couldn't see that. This equals 288. But that's not SB, that's SB squared. So to figure out what SB is, we need to take the square root of both sides. So then we'll say that SB equals the square root of 288. This 288 is 144 times 2. This is 12 times 12 times 2. So that means that 12 can come out. 12 times the square root of 2 units for SB. So now we're comparing 12 times the square root of 2 with 10 times the square root of 2. So we could say that Terrence lives closer because 10 times the square root of 2 is less than 12 times the square root of 2. This is 10 times 1.4-ish, so this is a number that is close to 14. And this is 12 times 1.4-ish, so this is more like a number around 19. So we would say that Terrence only has to travel 14 units and Bernadette has to travel 19 units. So thank you so much for working hard through that index, which is confusing. Great job, Smarty Pants.